Portions of the following program may have been pre-recorded.
Your local music, played coast to coast. The only nationally local radio station. You're listening to WSRR Radio.
After Hours.
The following conversations are that of conspiracy and should be viewed as such. Viewer discretion is advised.
For the intended and optimal listening purpose, we strongly encourage you to tune into WSRR Radio Monday nights after midnight to hear and contribute to the live broadcast. The following is not intended for the light of day. It's well after midnight at this point, and it's story time on After Midnights. So I'd like to take you to mid-November 1966, where something starts happening around Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It begins quietly, with witnesses who have no reason and no connection to each other. On November 12th, 5 gravediggers see what they describe as a man-shaped figure rise from the trees and move through the air above them. They're close enough to see it form clearly. They don't describe feathers, they don't describe flapping, they don't describe anything that would suggest a normal bird. They intentionally and purposefully describe something that's humanoid that can fly. This detail becomes important, so remember its shape and behavior as the story unfolds. 3 nights later, November 15th, 1966, 2 couples are driving through an abandoned TNT area outside of Point Pleasant. And this location matters more than people usually realize. This is a former military explosive site full of buried chemicals, sealed bunkers, abandoned structures. It's isolated, it's dark, it's largely unmonitored and abandoned. Roger and Linda Scarberry, along with Steve and Mary Mallett, see a figure standing near one of the concrete bunkers. And at first, they think it's a man. Then they notice its eyes. They describe them as large, bright red, glowing in a way that reflects light but also seems to generate its own. The figure is tall and gray and shaped like a human, but with something folded behind its back. When they drive past and circle back around, the figure is no longer where it was, until it appears again. When they decide that it's time to leave, it lifts off the ground. They're very distinct when they describe that it has no running start. There's no visible flapping. It just raises straight upwards and proceeds to follow them. They drive at a high speed, trying to get out of the area, and it keeps up with them. It stays above or behind their car, almost matching their movement. They describe a piercing, mechanical-sounding scream or shriek as it moved above them. It's not a passive sighting, like the first 5 men. This is an active pursuit. They go directly to the Mason County Sheriff Office. The deputies take the report seriously enough to go out to the TNT area that same night, but they don't find the creature. However, they do have written reports of seeing strange lights in the distance. And from that point forward, the situation becomes public. Later that week, the Point Pleasant Registrar publishes a story, and publishes the name Mothman. The name is almost irrelevant compared to what follows. And once the story is out, people begin coming forward. Not with vague crimes, but with specific encounters that line up in disturbing ways. In late 66 into 67, sightings continue to appear and intensify. Over the next year, sightings cluster around the TNT area and outskirts of Point Pleasant, and the descriptions stay consistent in very key ways. Most all witnesses describe tall, human-shaped figures. The eyes are always the same, red, glowing, set in a way that makes them the most prominent feature. Some say the head is barely visible, and that the eyes are embedded into the upper torso region. The wings are not always clearly seen until the creature moves. Some report that when it does, it can lift straight into the air, and people repeatedly emphasize that it does not behave like a bird. There are now multiple reports of it pacing cars alongside back roads. Drivers describe looking out the windows and seeing it keeping up with them just beyond the headlights. In some cases, it's seen standing near roads or structures before suddenly disappearing and reappearing elsewhere. Volunteer firemen, construction workers, local residents have all reported seeing it. And these are not isolated individuals. These are groups of people who have described the same figure independently over and over again over the course of 2 years. There are also reports of it being seen near the Ohio River and along route to the Silver Bridge. One of the more unsettling aspects is not just what people see, but how they describe the experience. Witnesses talk about an overwhelming sense of dread. Not surprise, not confusion, but something closer to the feeling of forced panic response. Some say they felt watched before they ever saw anything. Others report that the creature seemed aware of them, turning its body or shifting its position in response to their movements. This gives the impression of intelligence rather than some random animalistic behavior. There's also scattered reports of strange phone calls. Voices that didn't sound quite human. These calls weren't one-offs, these were repeated. Individuals asking questions about sightings in ways that made people uneasy. Now, whether these were connected or not, they became part of the larger pattern and were ultimately documented under the same cases. The repeated appearances in the TNT area raise a question that never really gets a clear answer. That land was used for storing explosives and chemicals during World War II, and after the war, much of it was abandoned, but not necessarily cleared out. If anything unusual was present in the environment, that's where it would be concentrated. Some witnesses reported seeing the figure near the entrance of storage bunkers as if it was emerging or returning to them. Others described lights in the sky above the area at night, separate from seeing the creature itself. And this creates the possibility that the people were seeing was tied to that location and not just something that's passing through. Through late 67, sightings continued, but our noticeable tension has begun to grow in how people talk about these sightings. And it's less about curiosity and more about unease. The reports that are coming out in papers feel like something is building rather than fading. And the creature is still being seen near roads, near rivers, and areas that connect directly to that main bridge. On December 15th, 1967, during the day there's heavy traffic on the Silver Bridge when it collapses without warning. Cars fall into the river, and 46 people die. The official explanation points to structural failure in a single component that triggered a total collapse of the bridge. The explanation accounts for mechanics of how the bridge failed, but it doesn't address the timing of everything that came before it. For over a year, something had been appearing in the exact region connected to that bridge. Then, after the collapse, it stops. In the days and weeks following the aftermath, reports of the Mothman drop sharply. Not gradually, almost completely. People who had been seeing it regularly no longer reported encounters. The TNT area goers quit in terms of sighting. The roads where it had been seen were suddenly back to normal. And this is one of the most difficult aspects there is to ignore when diving into the actual case documents and police recordings of the Mothman. Whatever was being seen was no longer present following the Silver Bridge collapse. If you take the sequence as it happened without dismissing it, you're left with a pattern. And that's something we talk about a lot here, is pattern recognition. Something appeared in November of '66. It's seen repeatedly by different people in specific geographic areas. It behaves in a way that suggests awareness and intent. It's most active around a certain area that just happened to contain former military equipment, TNT explosives, and sat along a major route to the Silver Bridge. The sightings continue for just over a year. And then, the catastrophic structural failure at the bridge occurs. Cars plummet into the water. The bridge collapses, never to be rebuilt, mind you. And immediately after, sightings stop. The sequence really doesn't explain itself. It leaves an open possibility that the sightings were connected to whatever led to the collapse. Some call it a warning, a byproduct, or something else entirely. And to this day, speculation still runs rampant about what this Mothman's intentions were. Is it an evil deity bent on destruction and terrorism of us, the people? Did it cause the collapse of the Silver Bridge, or was it an omen? Was it a warning that only revealed itself as a last-ditch effort to tell us about the inevitable collapse of the Silver Bridge? The story is still unexplained. Sightings have popped up here and there over the years. Some say that on the day of the Silver Bridge collapse, early in the morning, they saw the shadowy figure near the top of the suspension. Some have said that they saw a similar large winged figure near the Chernobyl reactors just hours before the meltdown. And since then, others have reported sightings back in West Virginia, in Chicago, the Boston airport, and other miscellaneous locations along the United States, but nothing has been as documented, as true, as repetitive, and as published as Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1966 through 1967. So whether the Mothman is an evil deity, a warning omen, or something else entirely, don't be afraid to let me know what you think. 216-859-8699, that number to text in. We're getting close to the end of the program here tonight. I know we'd missed a week. I just want to remind you to visit WSRRradio.com. You can go to the After Midnight section and see this show as well as all of our shows that are backlogged there just in case something does happen while we're on air. In addition to that, you can catch replays all throughout the week, right here at 12:03 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, and live shows right here on most Mondays, 12:03 a.m. So until next time, And especially to all of you out there near Point Pleasant, West Virginia, I wish you goodbye and good night.
The preceding program was a WSRR radio production.